Hey, everybody. Welcome to the new Tar Heel 247 here on the 247 network associated with CBS Sports. I am Tar Heel 247 publisher Andrew Jones, and joining me is David Sisk, longtime basketball coach, college, AAU, high school analyst. He's been with me for a while at the previous stop. He will be with us here on 247 in a much more expanded role than you've ever seen him before. So if you love David Sisk, you won't be able to get enough of him. He's going to be, or you'll get your fill. He's going to be all over the place here on Tar Heel 247. David, we're going to talk basketball recruiting. That's one of the things we're going to do more of moving forward here on this forward on this platform. And one of the things I want to get into are 5 kids in the class of 2026 that you wanted to talk about. We're going to kind of go over what their summers went like and a little bit about where Carolina stands with them right now. So we're going to start rolling with Deron Rippey, 6'2", 175-pound point guard, Blair Academy, Blairstown, New Jersey, number 17 and 247, number 16 composite, the number 2 point guard in the country. We'll get into some other stuff here in a few moments, but you recently spoke to his father. So what can you tell us about Deron Rippey?
Each player that we're going to discuss is ones that have set up visits. So I wanted to clarify that early. We're getting ready. In fact, the dead period starts August 3rd, and we'll be going for 2 weeks. So it's a quiet time right now. And I just wanted, like I said, to specify early on, recruiting has changed so much, not only through NIL, but the transfer portal. And the transfer portal won't even kick in until the spring or right after the season's over. But so many players now are watching that, so they want to see what the rosters are going to look like in 26, 27. So it's a point where sometimes you even had 2 guys maybe who had committed by now, and you'll have a commitment sporadically in college basketball here and there. But like I've told you, those days are pretty much over, because not only do they want to see, what the roster looks like as far as how it affects them and their playing time and their spots, but they want to see what the talent's like that's around them. So let's get that out of the way. Now, with Rippey, made a strong case to be the top point guard in the country. Very strong case. And he's a winner. He won in New Jersey in high school. He won on the Adidas circuit. And he's just knows how to play the position, can score, can run a team, very athletic, has some big-time hops. You probably saw some of his dunks over people on the on Twitter this summer. So they're in a situation right now. North Carolina has a visit. He's got a bunch scheduled. So North Carolina is one of the early ones, but it goes through September. August. In fact, he's at Kentucky this weekend. So it starts here at Kentucky, goes through September, all the way through October. So there's going to be a ton of visits. He's going to visit North Carolina on the TCU weekend along with Tony Bryant. They'll be there together. So it's a happening weekend in North Carolina. But when you have all of those, you have to have something that sticks out. And yes, it's going to have an impact, I think, on where North Carolina, obviously Chapel Hill, gets to put its best foot forward, because that will be a magical weekend, we think, for North Carolina. But, he's going to go see a lot of places after that. And so much of it's going to come down to NIL. It's going to come down to the vision that they can sell to him, and how they want to prepare him, how they want to develop him, what Hubert Davis's vision is for them. And that's what every school is going to do. Facilities, how competitive the team is, where the program's at. Every program he's going to visit are going to try to sell those factors to him. And then it's up to him and the family to decide, what they like best, while the agents work with the GMs and the coaching staff on what NIL looks like.
Times have changed, but also, as you said at the outset, what does the roster look like? What does it look like with Kyan Evans? If Luka is ever able to play, and the program believes he will be at some point, is he stick around for a second year? And what does it look like back there will play a big role as well? Tajh Ariza, 6'9", 195 pounds. Small
let me say this. Everybody is really in that same boat.
Yeah.
Because like I said, he's visiting Kentucky this weekend, and I've heard people say on Twitter when his visit's on that, they're going, well, Jalen Lowe's not going anywhere. He's going to be the point guard at Kentucky for 2 years. So, yeah, I mean, that's something that every program that you brought up, every program is going to have to deal with and make the sell.
By the way, I should have added as well, he also has scheduled visits to Tennessee, Texas, Syracuse, Indiana, and Alabama. Got a lot of them there. Tajh Ariza, 6'9", St. John Bosco in Bellflower, California. He is visiting Oregon and Southern Cal, by the way, coming up here in the next 6-7 weeks. Number 8 in 247, number 10, the composite. He visits Carolina the weekend of September 12th, which is the Richmond weekend? I guess that's the Richmond weekend home football game. So what are your thoughts on him?
Tajh Ariza is interesting. The way rankings go, when you see kids who are in the 8th grade, freshmen, very young, you look at them and say, okay, what type of abilities and just things that are uncoachable has God given them in this genetic lottery? And he is one of those. Early on, you look at him, he's 6'7", he's 6'8", wing, can touch the top of the backboard. NBA athleticism was apparent early on. So you're like, yeah, this is a guy that those things right there are 5-star type. Yeah. But as he's gotten older, then you can start to look, okay, what's the skill level like? How does it transfer into games? He's had some struggles. His high school season, they did well, and he scored, but low. He shot a lot, low per shooting percentages, and it went into the UIBL, just low shooting percentages. Really not a bucket getter, but he's got that length and that athleticism now, 6'8", 6'9" wing, I guess. And can defend. He would put me in mind. I think Leaky Black is a good comparison. So, he could be that type of player, but one of the critiques is his motor doesn't always run. So if you're talking about a Leaky Black comparison, that motor better be going all the time. Yeah. So it was interesting as a lot of schools who offered early began to drop out and say, I don't know about this guy. He's not kind of what we thought he would be. And they've kind of cooled off. Hubert Davis at USA Basketball was one of the floor coaches, and he saw him there along at EYBL, but he saw him. He got to build a little bit of a relationship in person, and that's huge. And when they come back from Colorado Springs, North Carolina offers. So he sets up that North Carolina visit. So Oregon and USC, they've been in on him. His dad played at UCLA. There's nothing set up there. West Coast kid, Los Angeles. North Carolina is one of 3 visits that he set up, but it's the only one, not only it's not West Coast, it's the only one that's not been recruiting him the whole time. So obviously I think Hubert Davis built a good rapport with him while he was in Colorado. Now let's see what happens from there. But I mean, to get that visit immediately after they got together at Colorado Springs, I think that sets up pretty well.
Yeah, I think Hubert's experience there was enormous. We talked about it on our YouTube channel at the time, and I think the dividends are enormous, and we're seeing it pay off a little bit here. Just with him being able to see him up close, coach him, he got to experience Hubert on that end, which is pretty cool. These kids in football get to experience it when they camp in June. They get a little of the taste of being coached by certain staffs. You don't get as much of that in basketball, and he got that. So that's pretty cool that Hubert was able to work that into a visit. Cameron Holmes, 6'5", 195 small forward, Millennium High School in Goodyear, Arizona, number 23 overall in 247, number 24 composite. He has a visit scheduled for Oregon in September. What are your thoughts on him?
The reason we mentioned him is because he's probably one of the guys that have been lumped in there with North Carolina all along. You know, North Carolina was like one of the first big programs to offer. They've been in on him. He speaks highly of them. When I went and watched him in May at the EYBL in Memphis and interviewed him, he told me, yeah, North Carolina is a place that I'm going to visit. So I would be surprised if he did not set up an official to North Carolina. And I would say the same for Arizona. Maybe the top player probably in that state may be tough to get him out of there, but I think North Carolina could get him set up on official. Now, here's the thing. I don't know. I can't say this matter-of-factly 100%, but I do feel it might be hard to get him and Ariza both because they're a little bit different positions. I could see Ariza playing the 3 and Holmes playing the 2, but Holmes, some may think he's more of a 3, but they're not the same type of players, not identical, but they resemble Andrew. Yeah. And the fact that long, athletic, but neither one are big-time bucket getters. Now, I think Holmes may be a little bit better at that than Ariza, but I don't know if they got serious with one, they might kind of curtail off with the other. All this remains to be seen because, like we said, it's initial stages, and Holmes hasn't even set up a visit yet. So they may be farther along with Ariza, may not be, but yeah. I think that's an interesting dynamic to look at.
Yeah, staying on Cameron Holmes, you said some may see him more as a 3 than a 2. Is that because he's not yet shown to be a consistent high-volume bucket getter? And what do you think he is, more 2 or 3 based on what you've seen?
He's 6'6". So I think you look at that. Unless Hubert wanted to go small, I think in today's game, versatility is such a big part of it.
Yeah.
So I don't think you necessarily look at a guy and say this, unless maybe they're a point guard or a center. Yeah. I don't think you look at your 2s, 3s, and 4s and say, well, it's just they're locked in at this spot. I think you look at a guy, well, I mean, you look at Jaron Stevenson, like, for example, coming back to North Carolina, 3/4. And I think you could even look at Caleb Wilson, 3/4, may even go down to the 5. And so you've got some, you've got those kind of guys. I mean, you look at the players in the past, just in the past 2 or 3 years that North Carolina's had, that they tried to play multiple positions. So I think where Ariza might be more of a 3/4 and could play some of the 2, I think you probably look at Holmes being a 3 who trends toward the 2, playing another spot.
Cole Cloer was a local kid. I guess he still is. His parents live in North Carolina. Yeah. He's now at IMG Academy, 6'7", 185, small forward. People around here have known his name for a while. He was previously at Caldwell Academy in Greensboro. Now, like I said, at IMG, number 24 overall in 247, number 29 composite. Some visits coming up. He's got a lot of schools that he's been interested in, David. Louisville, Florida, Alabama in the next 2 months. There might be others. I didn't find them. What can you tell me about Cole Cloer? And are there other visits he has? I know NC State's been interested as well.
The question is going to be, can North Carolina get an official visit? And I kind of put him in with Holmes. Guys that you think might give you an official, but have yet to do so. And he's already set up some. Obviously, as you said, he's got a lot of SEC interest. Florida, Alabama, he's going to take those trips. Kentucky offered at the end of July, And I was kind of surprised by that, but he does fit kind of what Mark Pope likes. An outside shooter. He's more athletic than you think. He can put the ball on the floor some. So that's going to be the question. And then once they do, if they can get that visit, are they swimming upstream here? Alabama, Florida. I was in Tuscaloosa last winter, and he took an official visit, or unofficial rather, I'm sorry, while I was down there. So, they've been in on him, the Nate Oateses and Todd Goldens and people like that. And then it turns out, he's finding a lot of his family are North Carolina State fans. So can North Carolina get a visit? You would think a kid from the Greensboro area, they could. And then if they do get it, like I said, are they swimming upstream in this one? You would like to think that North Carolina with an in-state kid would have a shot. It remains to be seen. There are a lot, like you said, there are a lot of bidders in this one. There are a lot of heavy hitters involved.
You say swimming upstream. Had Carolina gone full in or sooner, would the competition be as broad?
I don't know, because like I said, I think if you'll look, and this is just the reality of basketball today, like I said, he's got heavy hitters. He's had heavy hitters on him. Yeah. I'm telling you, Todd Golden just won a national championship. Nate Oates has been, and Alabama under Nate Oates, let me put it that way, has been a hot program. And when I go to AAU events, live events, and those coaches are there, I watch closely. What is the response when a coach walks in? Do the eyes go straight to him? Are people going up to him and asking for pictures and autographs? And are people flocking around him? Nate Oates draws attention. Todd the Golden now draws attention, and he didn't a year ago. And Pat Kelsey at Louisville, I'm telling you, watch out for Louisville, because he has a style that he is married to, and he sells a coaching style, and he recruits like nobody's business. I mean, he brought in Mikael Brown, and there are a lot of guys, man, I'm talking heavy 5 stars that are top 10, top 15 type players that are mentioning Louisville and are very serious about Louisville. So, North Carolina is a blue blood, but man, there are some hot coaches and hot programs, right there. So I don't know if it would have made a difference, because it's a heavyweight battle for it.
Kelsey and Louisville are a giant season away from being Oates in Alabama.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say? Yeah.
Yes. And I look at coaches, whether it's a slow down style or a fast paced style. He likes that fast paced, up and down, draws heavily on analytics. So I think what Oates has kind of done at Alabama, I think and he has the NIL, he has the facilities. It's a basketball school. They've got a big fan base there in that city who loves them, who come to the games. They've got an NBA arena. So, yes, I think what Oates has done at Alabama, he's got the facilities that Oates doesn't have. But
I know that.
I think that system and that style and trending the right way is a good comparison.
Yeah, I don't want to make this a Louisville podcast, but I think Carolina fans will see this as relevant. I've covered a lot of games at Louisville, and it's my favorite place to go on the road for a lot of reasons. One, you've got a lot of people who care deeply that are in that building. They are the pro team in that town, but they're the pro team with a college atmosphere. And that is very different. Syracuse can be that way too. You don't find that that often other places. And the money that could pour into that thing, if they believe in Kelsey getting that going, Louisville is really, I think, one of those programs that could re-explode, because it's been damn good in our lifetimes. We remember the teams back in the early 80s that were dunking like crazy before Houston started dunking like crazy. And it was all about about Louisville back then. I think they're very much on that course again. Bryson Howard, 6'8", 200 pounds, small forward out of Heritage High School, Frisco, Texas. Number 28 overall in 247, number 25 composite. And David, when you talk heavy hitters, he's got visits scheduled to Tennessee, Duke, UConn, Kentucky, and Houston. By the way, the son of Josh Howard. How old am I? I covered Josh Howard at Wake Forest. So what are your thoughts about Bryson Howard?
One of the guys that North Carolina offered later in the process, and his recruitment was about that. And it's one reason we mentioned him. So I think you take guys like him, like Dylan Mingo, Quinn Costello. Those are guys that got offered in July, that got later in the process, didn't get offered in the spring. And you want to see if they set up visits. Well, Bryson Howard did set up a visit. So like you said, he's got a lot of like you called it, heavy hitters there. And we've used that term quite often.
Yeah.
But the thing is that you do get him on campus. He's got an official visit. And now you've got a shot just like everybody else. I don't know who's the favorite. Can you get him out of the state of Texas? You know, his dad's played in the ACC. So there's a lot to be seen there. But I know when we saw him play late spring, late May, he was one of the players that we documented that was one of the top couple of players.
Yeah.
And you remember the article, one of the top couple of players that we saw that did not have a North Carolina offer, and he got a North Carolina offer. And there was a couple there that we thought that we really liked that ended up getting offered by North Carolina. So they've gotten a game here. So once again, you put your best foot forward on the official visit, you build a relationship, and and then NIL is obviously going to be a big part of it.
David, when you look at a player's bio in 247, they put warm, cool, all that kind of stuff. And I know that it takes quite a bit to go from cool to warm. There's not as much warm with Carolina on some of these guys as we've seen in the past. Is that more because there's so much uncertainty with what the roster might look like? Because most of the guys that you brought in have multiple years left, or is there another reason for that?
I would not hit the panic button over that if I'm anybody, because even the ones that you see warm with, they change. Let me give you an example, and I'm glad you brought that up. Jason Crow Jr., out of California as well, out of Los Angeles, same place. Was you mentioned a lot with Ariza, teammates of Tyrion Stokes. And Crow, a lot of people thinks the top perimeter scorer in the class. If there's a guy that can put it in the bucket out there, they think it's him. Well, he ends up 2 or 3 weeks before he makes his decision, you hear Missouri. And Missouri's not even being mentioned as schools that he might go to. And it comes out of the blue. And then about a day or so after that, you're like, well, there's something to it. And you couldn't say anything at that time. But now it's being said so much. The big rumor, I think I can say this and not get in any trouble. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, which you do the math. But I think the big thing is that it's believed that his dad's going to get added to the staff at Missouri, the coaching staff at Missouri. And his dad was his high school coach. His dad played, and I'm sure he's good enough to get added to that. So, but you see things like that where it's like, well, Missouri's not even in. And then 3 weeks later, he commits to Missouri. Now, not many guys have committed to Missouri, which I think will all now the NIL and the money that's going to be the way it's going to be distributed now, what the NCAA has handed down. You've got the percentages of your total NIL revenue going to the sports, the way it's divvied out. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see more things like this happen and more things happening behind the scenes, because now you've got your clearinghouse that's going to have to approve it. Well, if you hire family members And I'm not saying that's the case here, but I can see the coaches out there saying, hey, this might be a way around that. And so, yeah, it's just all the uncertainty. And I know this. I've talked to parents. I've talked to players. I've talked to AAU coaches. And nobody knows how this thing's going to play out. So there's a lot of uncertainty across the board in recruiting, just what it looks like. And I don't have the answers. I don't think anybody has the answers. It's going to be interesting how all this goes, going forward.
Speaking to your point, I was going through some kids today, some of their bios, and not just ones on this list. And I'm not going to name who it was, but I saw one kid who had 9 schools with Warm next to his name. So I guess that's blindfold, spin around, and just fire the dart, right? We're in a very strange time. Very strange time. It's not just the transfer stuff. It's with the high school kids. It's very different right now. Well, that's fantastic stuff. To our new audience at 247, we do this a lot. We run a lot of videos. We hit on football recruiting, basketball recruiting. We do daily drops. I do most of those myself. Jacob Turner and I do a lot of football shows, basketball shows. We've got John Henson coming for you, Mike Felder coming for you. We've got a lot of variety that's going to be happening. This new platform and the explosion in what we can bring you is one of the most exciting things to happen in a long time. And yes, I stepped away. I'm getting the life balance I want and in a far better situation. I'm so excited. We're keeping all of our socials. So make sure with this YouTube channel here, you hit subscribe if you haven't. Go ahead and like this video, share it with your friends. Let them know this is where we still are doing videos, and we're going to do a lot more of them. Twitter, same thing. Instagram, same thing. Facebook, all that. We might merge our Facebook page coming up. Haven't decided yet. We will let you know if and when we do that. For David Sisk, I'm AJ. We very much appreciate you stopping by.